So many, if not all of you, I'm sure, have been part of strategic planning at the organizational level. There is also strategic planning at a system level. And so whole system strategic planning really is about looking at a microcosm of the whole and bringing people together to have a conversation about what would it take, what is everybody willing to do together in order to improve the system. And so what we will be doing is after our discovery process, we'll be bringing people together for a 3-day event to create a shared vision and a common purpose with clear action plans, really focused on the work that everybody's willing to do from where they sit in the system. And so this loop that you see is kind of a big picture view of some of the pieces and parts of the system, and beginning and ending, beginning with design, going out to market through distributors, being used by all different levels and sizes of customers, either residentially or commercially, being collected and hauled away and brought to compost manufacturing sites. And so this loop should be a loop. And what we found is in conversations with folks across the system that, unintentionally, everybody is operating somewhat within silos. And that's what we're trying to break down those walls and have these bigger conversations about how to improve the system as a whole. And what you see here is a snapshot of the group that came together last March. And this really is about everybody working together to improve the whole system. And so part of this and one of the goals is really looking at what a seamless and cohesive collaboration and communication look like, and how do we accomplish that. So we launched this initiative last fall. And since that time, we have put together a really incredible steering committee. And the steering committee gets together every other week. And kind of at the heart of what they're doing is planning the big strategic planning event in September. And so you may see some familiar names here. Our intention was to get as good a cross section as possible across the country, across all the different stakeholders in the industry, so that we can bring together the best microcosm possible in September for a 3-day strategic planning event. And so the first task of this group is really fine tune kind of what our intentions are with this project. And so the big umbrella is really improving the circularity of compostables. Something isn't compostable unless it actually can get to a composting facility and it actually breaks down in that facility. And so this is a whole system strategic planning event. It's a systems change effort, and we're focused on engaging pioneers from across the US, from across all parts of the system, to come together and create that shared vision and roadmap. This is about improving the circularity of the circular economy of the US composting industry. And this is also about looking at the whole and how to use the information of what's happening in the whole system to improve what's happening in each and every part. And so the intentions of this project are designing an inclusive whole system circularity model for the health of the composting industry that enables decarbonization and reduces solid waste and greenhouse gas emissions. So, the big picture, what are we all trying to accomplish together, doing each of our pieces and parts, and then improving collaboration and coordination between all the stakeholders in the composting system. And that's everybody. So policymakers, the supply chain, solid waste system, end users. Improving information flow between packaging design and commercial composting processes so that everybody's investments are seen to fruition. Identifying strategies to direct and process food waste at commercial composting facilities. Food waste is the most stable input that commercial composting sites can have. And so, by doing that, also considering the business value for all stakeholders in that process. And then ultimately shifting stakeholder behavior across this entire system to mitigate contamination, which is one of the largest issues in the cost of contamination linked to non-compostable food contact packaging. So there's lots of different ways that you can bring a whole system together. Future Search was designed in the 90s and has been used all over the world to create a space and a place for large complex systems to come together and do very effective strategic planning. I'm a Future Search facilitator. My co-facilitator, Ariel Sullivan, is also a large system specialist. And Future Search is basically a hands-on, interactive, heavily guided 3-day strategic planning process. And the work that the steering committee is doing is identifying all of the different individuals within each of the stakeholder groups that need to be in the room for anything to change. And so we've got 200 spots for our event in September, and we'll be working towards building that microcosm of the system so that we can have that strategic planning session in September. So Future Search works because it's based on 4 different principles, that a microcosm of the whole system is in the room. Why that's important is you need all of the different perspectives and voices from the whole system so that everybody begins with having a context of the whole, and that happens before any problem solving begins. And so we go through a series of exercises during the strategic planning process to make sure that everybody has the opportunity to bring their voice and perspective and experience into the room, no matter how many hats that they're wearing when they cross that threshold into the strategic planning space. And so we have lots of different opportunities to really paint a picture, not just of the individual puzzle pieces, but, what does that puzzle create? What is the whole system, and what are the realities of that system through all these different perspectives? And then the focus of the work throughout this entire strategic planning process is future focused and building common ground. And so really answering that question, what is everybody ready and willing to do, which is really when change is possible and what makes change happen. And throughout this process, every step of the way, the 4th principle is self-management, and that everybody committing to and understanding what their responsibility is for taking action from where they sit within the system. And so this question, who needs to be in the room for anything to change? Who needs to be part of the conversation for anything to change? We have started over the last 6 months kind of mapping out all the different stakeholder pieces and parts. We're very much in a learning process. And so as we have these conversations, we are always learning about pieces and parts of the system that may not be as visible as others. And so what you see here is a good snapshot of some of the bigger pieces, but we know that this doesn't represent all. And so this is another piece of the work that the steering committee is doing, is really helping us create a map of the whole system. This particular Future Search initiative is unique in that we have 2 additional pieces. And so typically discovery happens during the event itself. Given everything that we've learned about the complexity of the system, is we knew that it would take a lot more time and a lot more input and voices to tell the full story about all the different stakeholders within the system. And so we've designed a series of 12 discovery workshops. We began those in February. They'll end in September. And each one is a 90-minute session. They're all recorded. Anybody can sign up to participate, and then they are all uploaded into a YouTube channel for anybody to watch. And our goal is not just to help inform the folks who will be there in September, but to provide a resource back to the whole industry so that everybody has an opportunity to really understand both the opportunities and the challenges and what they need from each other from the entire system. And so all of the discovery workshops lead up to this 3 days Future Search that's going to happen in September in Denver. And then Ariel and I will be working together with the whole industry in activating the strategic plan that's designed. And so we'll be doing that for a year. So we will be creating the systems of support for that strategic plan activation. We spent a lot of time this last fall and winter bringing together some launch partners. And so what you see here is kind of the beginning of our Improving Circularity Partners and Partnership. This project, a decision was made, instead of trying to garner a grant from one source, is to have a shared funding strategy. And so basically everybody has a piece of the puzzle, has a commitment to seeing the success of the system. And so what you see here are the folks that jumped in at the beginning to say, yes, we're in. And then this is basically our launch group. And we hope by the end of this project that this list is 4 times this length. And so, but very, very grateful to all the folks that you see here and all of the initial support that we have for launching this project. So the discovery workshop is 12 different 90-minute sessions. They occur about every 2 to 3 weeks, and the last one will be mid-September. They're on Thursdays from 12 to 1:30 Eastern time. And then we have an RSVP process. Anyone and everybody is invited to attend. There's no limitation on who can attend, and it's free to attend. And so the RSVP link that you'll see, please share that widely. Again, anyone and everyone is welcome to be part of that. And our hope is that these serve kind of as a living library of the voices and experiences of the different stakeholders within the industry. And, what we're hoping is giving a platform for folks to speak what they know is true for them and to build a system-wide deeper understanding of the whole interconnected system. And so we have a YouTube channel. During each session, we highly encourage people to put in all their questions to the chat. We want to limit the time during the panel for each of the panelists to use that space to tell their stories. And so we collect the questions, and after each session, we work with the panelists to do kind of a Q&A that we can share out afterwards. So we wanted to tell the story of the system starting with the piles. And so that's why we started with compost manufacturers, and we'll be working through basically that loop. And so the first workshop was compost manufacturers. The second one was the experience of hauling food and compostables. And then you are here because you are speaking on the panel for the large generators and the food service companies that provide those large generators. And then from there, we'll go into 4 different sessions around the packaging piece, all the way from distribution to design, next certifiers, labs, research, talk to professional associations, looking at what's happening in the current technology and emerging technology within the composting industry and the venture capital funding that's making that possible. Second to last is the government perspective, so municipalities and government agencies, and then we're ending with policymakers and elected officials. And so this calendar is available on our workshop flyer, which I'll share out afterwards. But you can see here, we've got an incredible lineup. If you haven't had a chance to watch the first 2, really impassioned speakers and just incredible insights into what is true for them within, everybody trying to do their best within this industry. And then we have kind of the big picture flip book, is the initiative brochure. The RSVP is a form that an RSVP form that people can fill out to sign up for the series, or just to say, hey, I want to be a panelist on one of the sessions. We've got the YouTube channel where all of the videos from each of the sessions live. And then for our shared funding partners, we have a way, if you want to get more involved, there's a way to do so on the commitment form.